We're not a huge fan of just ultra modern, just for the sake of ultra modern. We love things that have one foot in the past, and clearly a reinterpretation of that old soul. So. My name is Mark Turner. I'm the co-founder of Lost Whiskey and the owner of Greenspur Architecture. What is Lost Whiskey? Technically, it's named after a mountain that we look down on called Lost Mountain, which was purchased by George Washington. He had an opportunity to pick that mountain to retire on, which we look down on. And then he became president. He had to sell the property, but there's well documentation of how he was going to design his house on top of this ridge. So, Lost Whiskey's ethos to us is we don't think there's many more things that are more valuable than someone's story, our story, your story, bourbon story. I really think that the value of story is never more important in history than now. And the bourbon itself, we keep it very simple. We have a high rye and a high wheat. Nothing fancy. To us, the story is more valuable than the liquid, but the two pair well together. Lost Whiskey was a product of, we'd have Christmas parties at our company. It'd just be a big bourbon exchange. So everyone in our company loves whiskey, and we have been building and doing architecture for 15 years. And we wanted to have a commodity to share our love for the art of gathering, of place, of nature. We think bourbon kind of brings the secret sauce that brings a lot of those together. So we just decided that was a good thing to do. I grew up on a family dude ranch out west. We didn't have a TV in our family. Our parents would kick us out of the house at dawn and wouldn't come back until dusk. So we had to make our own adventure with my cousins, people that on the ranch. So we were always out tinkering with stuff, building forts, holes, getting in trouble, and that kind of initiated something in me that likes to build things, likes to take things old, make them new. Family's really important to me, so hearing stories from my grandfather and my own father, uncles and aunts, I'm really drawn towards the black and white pictures and the grainy stories and where my heritage came from. Something I have a lot of passion for. When we do our architecture, the first thing we do is we look at old pictures. What was here before? Was there an old cool barn here? Was there some kind of mill? What was the commerce of that time? We find some old pictures, and then our architecture takes some of that and remakes it. So you can, most of your stuff you see, you'll have geometry and massing that looks old, but it's clearly new. And this is an example of that. This is supposed to be an old tobacco barn. Those are always black because they wanted the heat to come in and dry things out. So it's obviously a more modern take on it, but this is a modern take on it, like a tobacco barn. Well, analog, my theory, it's almost can be explained with a math equation. We have been chasing this exponential curve that's going straight up. So if we look at our consumption and growth patterns and return on investments and Wall Street, it's all doing this exponential curve, which is mathematically to the x. The inverse of that is natural logarithm, and that's found in nature. So the structure of a shell or this natural nature has a way to curve that exponential curve flat again. So analog, I think mathematically, I think you're seeing it now and throughout history that people are starting to be super cooked on this curve that's provided little personal ROI, and now you're seeing this analog answers, whether it be really cool Land Rovers that are redone, an old house, or craft beer, craft whiskey, good architecture. I think people that are kind of craving the analog now, certainly I do in my personal life. But we're staking our brand, our architecture, and our whiskey on that theory, I guess. We love symmetry, maybe to a fault. There's a lot of logic in sexual reproduction that we're attracted to symmetry. So we think architecture should be symmetrical because you feel more comfortable and kind of at ease in a symmetrical way. So if you look at this house, it's very symmetrical. It's a fire at the main hearth. It's lined up with the kitchen. There's 2 sitting zones. There's 6 bedrooms upstairs. The materials are raw steel, raw concrete. It's painted metal outside, so when you come up here, there's not a lot of maintenance. It's meant to take a lot of traffic with dogs and kids. People really enjoying the space. And it's not, I think the scale of it for a 6-bedroom house, we purposely kept the bedrooms very small. The kitchen and living and the dining, we kind of all the emphasis there. You're here to gather and commune, and then you go to sleep and you wake up next morning and do it. But so we redesigned this thing maybe 20 different times, but this is what we landed on, and it was a real passion project for us. We don't know who we are until we know where we are. So its place influences us in so many ways. So it's our ancestors, it's the landscape, it's the weather, it's the geography, and all that influences who we are. So place is embedded with person and that sense of it. And place really, in some sense, defines us personally, but culturally, and the steps we take.